Sup Shredders, my name is Logan aka Spiderhands and welcome to an SP Reviews where today we have ourselves a track by an act named FACELESS titled On a Roll. And if we switch over to here we have ourselves a track on Spotify and we're going to be listening through it from start to finish. We're going to hear what we think. Let's go. Okay, rotating around that bass line, that's cool.
We're living our lives carefree. Our minds are on a roll, on a roll, on a roll. Yeah, yeah, yeah. We're bound by our dreams. We're ready to give it all, give it all, give it all. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Before we go any further, I should also note that this has been released through Uplifting Productions. Now, the somber guitar line, tight trappish drum patterns there with the samples, and the vocals coming in for a bit of development at halfway the hook line. Very engaging so far.
Don't ever doubt us. We're sharp and wise, carving our path. Doubts won't arise. Dreaming big and ready to slay. We'll make our mark every single day. We're living our lives carefree. Our minds are on a roll, on a roll, on a roll. Yeah, yeah, yeah. We're bound by our dreams. We're ready to give it all, give it all, give it all. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I liked the little extra addition of synths in the upper side there, you know, on the upper frequencies. There's just careful attention to detail to make the 3 minutes 17 that we're spending with this song interesting, and little changes can really make it sparkle. I like how it's reliable coming back into that hook line. You almost feel like you're back inside your house. It's nice and cozy. It's good.
No fear or hesitation. We won't accept. We're coming our path, step by step. We've doubted ourselves.
Great switch up with the panning of the hi-hats.
Questioned our worth, but we found our voices, our purpose, our birth. We're living our lives carefree. Our minds are on a roll, on a roll, on a roll. Yeah, yeah, yeah. We're bound by our dreams. We're ready to give it all, give it all, give it all. Yeah, yeah, yeah. Through highs and lows, we'll stay strong. We'll keep pushing forward where we belong. Creating our story, no one will hold us back. With determination, we'll stay on track.
It might have been cool to have had a different bass line there or a different chord progression just to help that interlude section stand out a little bit. I don't mind the reiteration of the motif, it sounds cool, but just my 2 cents.
We're living our lives
Because then you can come back to where you're familiar and it resolves well, you know?
on a roll, on a roll. Yeah, yeah, yeah. We're bound by our dreams. We're ready to give it all, give it all, give it all. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
A nice use of delay tails on the guitar bit there. That's cool. Because this is the conclusion of my review of this track from an act named FACELESS titled On a Roll. Now, what do I think this track is about? I think when we talked about our minds being here on a roll, we talked about it being carefree, and I just get the impression that the song is about us making the most of our lives, focused on what's going to get us to the next bit, but also not trying to sort of allow the expectations, responsibilities, and realities of some of the lesser preferable things in the world to get us down. We're not allowing the world to get us down, and we're basically living the dream effectively. I like the positivity of that. You know, with uplifting productions, it does sound uplifting, which is good. It's solid. There's obviously more nuance to it. I'd want to probably listen to the track a few more times just to kind of get more context over the verse sections. But still, well done. That's what I got, I suppose, mainly from the hook section, which is the part that's typically aimed to be the most memorable. So in that effect, I think we're good. The vocals behind it were solid. I liked the vocal technique. We were comfortable in a head and chest voice. There were some interesting, compelling melodies with the hook lines, and there was a nice amount of variation within interludes and verses. We stuck within our kind of mid to higher kind of vocal range, and that seemed like we were happy there. And I don't think we nearly needed to move around that much. It might have been cool again, alongside the comments I made with the interlude maybe having a different bass line or chord progression, to have also had a different way of approaching the interlude, almost like a twist in the tail. But then I think with a track where we're trying to emphasize the freedom, the how relaxed and enjoyable things are, having unnecessary tension might be a little bit more of a burden than anything else. So I get that. It's cool. There was some nice vibrato occasionally, a little bit of vocal technique in regards to ornamentation as well. And I think that the way we sang was palatable and appropriate to what we were talking about in the story. I don't have any complaints about that at all. I think it was good. I think it was I don't think there's a note out of place either. So yeah, the vocals and the lyrics had a good sense of synergy to them. When we go into the track itself at 3 minutes 17, I think that things were well balanced there. I feel as if we had our instrumental intro with the vocals coming a little bit later on. Obviously with the guitar and synth parts, the drums and bass. There are a lot of different elements within this without overwhelming it or soaking it up. But I think we also had a good structure to it where it was easy to follow along, to a lot of people be familiar, again with the chorus, verse, chorus, and the interlude and chorus. And then of course, I think it can be a smart idea to start with the chorus, because if you don't really start with the chorus, what happens is, people are expected to not have the catchiest first end. You just cannot always expect people to be instantly in love with what you're initially presenting unless it's really compelling. So it's a smart move to choose the chorus first if you're not totally sure that your verse is going to suck people in, especially with a track that's 3 minutes 17. Not that that's it's within the 2 to 4 minute sweet spot for most singles. So I think that that's a great length for a song like this, especially the amount of content we had here. But yeah, no, okay, so the structure makes sense and the length makes sense. The choice of instruments with the really mysterious, moody intro was kind of charming. It wasn't what I expected if I isolate the lyrics and put it with the theme, the motif behind it. The guitar lines in that mid-range were kind of misty sounding, and they almost sounded like things were a little bit bittersweet. But I don't necessarily mind that, because I think if you'd had the guitars a lot more chirpy and positive and uplifting, it would have just been too much. I would have sort of bordered on a little bit disingenuous, in my opinion, for everything to be too bright and sparkly and major to the point where it sounded cheesy. So I think that metering it out with having those bittersweet elements there was probably a smart move there. The bass nice in that low end, that 808 warbling around the low end and sides of the stereo field was smart. It provided a nice floor for everything to stand on. The drums sidechained well and were nice and punchy and short with their attacks and decays, so that worked effectively. And any sort of other synth parts we had there meld round to the mid and high ranges there, which were stacked on top of the bass and drum elements, and they had a presence there too, especially with that second chorus. We had them sort of sparkle on top. I think that was really, really great. And it's really positive. I think that in addition to what the individual instruments are doing, rolling around again, a really bittersweet theme overall. I mean, the percussion was cool, I suppose, getting back onto that. And not just the tone of it, but also the complexity of those beats within it. We had like an eighth note groove to it, 1 and 2 and 3, but we also had interesting 16th offbeats going on there that were either ghost notes or they were meant to sort of accent or sort of create an alternate sort of punchiness to it. That really did get the attention without being too in your face. It was intricate, but also kind of delicate. And I think with a lot of the sweeter, softer elements of the composition, they blended well. It definitely wasn't a track where you were wanting more from the individual instruments, if anything, against what I mentioned about wanting a different bass line or chord progression, just because that motif at that 2 minute mark, we were familiar with it, intimately familiar, especially after a couple of choruses. But I don't think we needed a lead section on top. I think the vocals were enough. I think if we had tried to pull off a double chorus at the end, or if we tried to extend it further, we definitely would need a lead. I just think it would have been too long with this similar elements. We would have been a bit too used to it by then, in my opinion. But the theme itself, to get back to that, I think, again, the moodiness of it, the low-key accessibility of it will appeal to a lot of people, primarily because it seems a bit... It's also a bit more fashionable, to be honest, you know? Like, I think of songs like Pharrell's Happy, for example, which I know is it's a strong comparison. I don't know, like, I like that song because it's made well, but I also don't like it because it's using like tricks with the weird chord progressions to kind of get you to feel happy. I don't like my brain being messed with by music. I like stuff like this where you can just sit and chill and vibe with it. Anyways, moving on from the composition there, we have the actual recording, mixing, mastering itself, which I believe is solid and on point. I don't have any complaints about that. The vocals were nice and present in the mix. The instruments were well EQ'd and filtered. Things were nice and wide in the stereo field with little sparkles and placements of the hi-hats moving around the center field as well. The bass line was nice and thick and low and well controlled, and the guitars kind of swam around the stereo field within the mid-range of the frequency spectrum, with any synth layers sparkling in the mid to higher on top, and it was good. It was golden. I like that we didn't have all the instruments at once because it allowed us to kind of find new fun things as we went along, and I like the fact that things were well niched within the frequency spectrum, so there were no resonances there, and there was still dynamic range, which was great. You know, things were not the same loudness the whole time, which I appreciate. Things can get a little bit dynamically monotonous otherwise, and we don't want that. And then finally, it was still nice and loud without pumping, so the limiting bus compression was handled. I mean, effectively, this is my review of this track from an act named FACELESS, titled On a Roll. And hopefully you enjoyed it. If you did, please go show them some love via the various social medias and their Spotify page, and stay cool and stay safe. And please remember to support your local musicians and artists at this point in time, as either help more than ever thought of crazy stuff going on in the world, and I'll catch you in the next review. Spiderhands out.